One of the cooler storylines I have been seeing in the NBA has been the turnaround of the Detroit Pistons. Last year at this time, they were 4-36. They went on that historical losing streak. They were the laughingstock of the NBA. And you felt sorry for Cade Cunningham because he was a number one draft pick out of Oklahoma State. And you saw his potential to be a really good player someday. He just didn't have a competent roster, didn't have the spacing. But you go into this offseason, they add Tobias Harris. They add Tim Hardaway Jr. They add Malik Beasley. All of a sudden, Cade has more space out there to work in the lanes and make good decisions. And these guys are knocking down the jump shots, which helps a lot. He is third in assists in the NBA right now, which is impressive stuff. So his playmaking has improved. His decision making is getting better. And it's good to see him with a competitive roster because last year and really the past few seasons have been really rough for Cade. I remember he had that knee surgery after his rookie season, which was really tough to see because we saw the potential, we saw his ascension. But as Cade has matured and gotten better, the Pistons are winning basketball games. They've won 10 of the past 12 games. They've beaten teams like the Knicks twice. They've beaten the Magic. They've beaten the Timberwolves, the Lakers, the Suns, and the Kings. I know they've beaten the Nets and the Warriors, but at the same time, if you're beating those bottom feeding opponents, that's good as well because you're handling your business and you're separating yourself from the pack. You're not in those same conversations like the Blazers of the world, the Wizards, the Hornets, etc. You are separating yourself, and now they're battling. I think they're seventh in the Eastern Conference right now. And also Cade Cunningham from three. I think he's shooting at about 38%, which is a career high for him. He's also at 48% for the mid range. So you're seeing the improvements of Cade Cunningham right before your eyes. I think he's a lock for All-Star. He should be a first-time All-Star this year. There's no doubt about it. Also, he doesn't have a reliable second option. Jaden Ivey was looking good, and I had him on my fantasy. He was just getting me buckets and playing really good basketball. Then he went out with that injuries out for the season, and the Pistons just said, you know what? We're going to go on this winning streak, and they're playing really good basketball. Their defense was 26th last year. They're 16th right now. Their three-point shooting was 26th in the league last year. They're around close to the top 10 in three-point shooting. So there's improvements on this roster. And JB Bickerstaff has done a great job coming in and building this culture, really getting this team to care about playing good basketball. That's all you're looking for here. You're getting this roster. You're trying to just get things on track. And they're now heading in the right direction. Again, you add vets like Tobias Harris, Malik Beasley, who's shooting 40% from three on 9 3-point attempts a night. You have Tim Hardaway Jr., so you have veterans in there who can hold the young guys accountable. And Cade is leading the forefront. And when you don't have a reliable second option, well, Cade's got to do a lot out there. He's got to drive in the rim, make good decisions, make sure he's making the right reads with his playmaking. And then he's shooting the ball well. So he's carrying a lot for Detroit. And to do this without a reliable second option, to get the Pistons in a position where they're 21-19, that is really impressive. Another thing that I like about this team is their wins against teams over 500. So the Pistons have more wins against teams over 500 than Milwaukee and Orlando. That's impressive stuff. And then they're not just beating up on bad opponents. They're actually beating some really good basketball teams. That shows you they're growing. They're getting better as a basketball team. And then Cade not having that second option. If I'm Detroit right now, I'm looking around the league. I'm going, okay, let's see if Cam Johnson's available. Let's see if we can do a deal with the Brooklyn Nets and really improve this roster because Tobias, he's a nice player. Tim Hardaway Jr., he's a streaky three-point shooter. And Beasley's been reliable, but Johnson would be an upgrade. Now you have a second, maybe third option at times in Cam Johnson. And all of a sudden, you got something to work with here with Cade. And then you got, of course, Thompson, the young guy. I like what Detroit's doing here. They're building things correctly. They got their superstar talent. He is an automatic all-star play. He should be in the all-star game. He better be. And to see this team heading in a direction now, not at the bottom of the Eastern Conference, losing day in and day out, is a good sign. Bickerstaff has done a great job turning things around. I know he got a lot of heat with the Cleveland Cavaliers, but sometimes when you get fired from a job doesn't mean you're a bad coach. Sometimes they don't want to listen to you anymore. And Kenny Atkinson has come in, and he's talked about the same things with Darius Garland, shooting the ball more. That's what Bickerstaff wanted from Garland. He's just listening to Atkinson more. That's it. So Bickerstaff doing a great job here. Another thing I want to point out is this. The Detroit Pistons have the same amount of wins against teams over 500 as the New York Knicks, the Dallas Mavericks, and the Memphis Grizzlies. That shows me this team is going down the right path. They're playing really good basketball. They're 6th in offense during this stretch where they've won 10 of the past 12 games. I believe they're 15th in defense as well. So they're doing all the right things. And with Cade's improvement, taking that leap, with him being a first-time All-Star, it's going to help them only get better. I think they should add a guy like Cam Johnson so he can have another reliable option, not just a guy who can just shoot the ball, but somebody who can create off the dribble as well. But of course, Jaden Ivey was helping with that. Obviously, you want him back to see what this roster looks like when he's healthy next year. I just love what Detroit is doing. And when you're beating quality opponents, you're doing the right things, you're going to be a relevant team eventually. So as long as Cade continues to work on his game, one of the things he could get better at is finishing at the rim. He shoots at about 53%. For his height and stature, it should be better. And I think he'll work on that. Every young player has to get better at something in their game where they have some weaknesses. And Cade will clean it up, I believe. I do see him as a top 10 player in the NBA, a top 5 point guard, maybe even top 3 if you want to make that argument. I'm not against it whatsoever because I think he's trending in that direction. But yeah, shout out to the Pistons. I mean, it was bad last year. I mean, it was a horrible experience for the Pistons fans. So to see them this year, the maturity and growth of Cade, working on his perimeter game, working on his mid-range game, that is going to help him going forward. And you're third in assists in the NBA. You're beating good basketball teams. You're not just beating the bottom of the pack. But again, I still think that's a positive because if you're beating the bad teams, that means your record is going to be really good and you're going to be in playoff contention. Obviously, the next step is to be contenders, but baby steps. You're just trying to have a good season. So making the playoffs should be the priority. I think the organization needs to be aggressive in the trade deadline and add a younger star like Cam Johnson, not a star, but a really good player. I wouldn't call, Cam Johnson a all-star level player, but he's an upgrade over Tobias Harris. No disrespect to Harris. He's been good for them. But I think the Pistons need to be aggressive during this trade deadline to add talent around Cade because you see what he's becoming and how he can lift the franchise without a second option. So go get him some more pieces and see what you can do around Cade because, man, the Pistons, I'm not going to say they're contenders yet. That's a little bit premature, but I love the fact they're having a great season and good things are headed down the pipeline for the Detroit Pistons. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'd love to hear thoughts on the season of Detroit. What are your thoughts on Cade Cunningham? Do you think that he should be in the All-Star game? What do you think they should be doing in the trade deadline? Should they make any acquisitions? Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.